Son, and of the Holy Spirit. You may be seated. Good morning, St. Aidans.
Good morning, Father Reggie.
I greet you in the name of the horn of salvation, Jesus the Christ. So we finally have now the college football playoff teams chosen. I really thought that Ohio State deserved to get in over Alabama, but there's always next year. The question becomes, will the Clemson Tigers repeat? Army beat Navy. Army beat Navy. Jerusalem has been named to be the capital of Israel. A move that is theologically significant for the three Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Let us pray. The eternal God, in whose perfect kingdom no sword is drawn, but the sword of righteousness, no strength known, but the strength of love, so mightily spread abroad your spirit, that all peoples may be gathered under the banner of the Prince of Peace, as children of one Father, to whom be dominion and glory, now and forever. Amen. I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. Welcome back. We had a Sunday of snow off. I hope everyone had a good time and enjoyed it, but welcome back to this place of worship on this, the third Sunday after Advent in the liturgical life of our church. We pick up the biblical narrative here in the Gospel of John with the proclamation of the good news by John the Baptist. I would like to take as a subject this morning, bearers of the good news. Bearers of the good news. Let's look at three aspects of the proclamation by John the Baptist here. The first aspect of this text. The first aspect of this text that I would like for us to consider this week is good news elicits an emotional response. Good news elicits an emotional response. The text tells us that there was one crying out in the wilderness through his testimony. Good news has the ability to make us laugh or cry. And as we see here with John the Baptist quoting from the book of Isaiah, that a messenger from God ahead of you will prepare your way. The voice of one crying out in the wilderness. John was full of passion and excitement in his testimony of the good news about Jesus. What do we do when we have good news about something? Isn't it as if we just cannot contain our emotions? I know for me, when my family and I got the good news from the senior warden, Bob Stetcher, that we would be selected as the third rector of St. Aidans. This news was hard to contain. And at that moment, we really could not tell anyone about it. In the Gospel of Luke, we learn that John the Baptist's mother, Elizabeth, and Mary, the mother of Jesus, were related. Elizabeth was of advanced maternal age when she learned that she was pregnant. And Mary, the Holy Mother, learned that she had been chosen by God to be the mother of Jesus. Now think about the news that these women had just received. One had given up any hope of bearing children, and the other had experienced a visitation from the angel Gabriel, who had communicated to her that she had been chosen to birth the Son of God. This Isaiah passage that John is quoting, crying out in the wilderness. Today, in many ways, we are still crying out in the wilderness about the good news of the coming of the Lord, especially now in this liturgical season of Advent. But could it be? Could it be that in our current climate and culture, those who are and have committed atrocious crimes and heinous mass killings, are they crying out for the love of Jesus from those who know the good news? Are they crying out for the love of Jesus the Christ, for the good news? Dylan Klebold, Eric Harris of Columbine, and Dylan Roof of the Emmanuel AME shooting were committed senseless acts. But was it a cry? Was it a cry in the wilderness for the attention of the bearers of the good news? Bearers of the good news. The second aspect of bearing of the good news that I would like for us to consider is that genuineness and attentiveness are the keys to evangelizing. Genuineness and attentiveness are the keys to evangelizing. The text describes John the Baptist as being clothed with camel's hair, with a leather belt around his waist, and he ate locusts with wild honey. Now, John was authentic. He was different than the Jewish religious leadership, the Pharisees or the Sadducees. The people of the entire countryside of Judah came out to John to be baptized. Now, this is true for us as well. When we are genuine and attentive with people, it is easy for them to recognize this. When we are genuine and attentive with people, it is easy for them to recognize this. Sharing our stories and journey with others is a must if we are to be the bearers of the good news, as John the Baptist was. Now, we don't have to dress up in camel's hair and eat wild locusts. No, but we do have to be honest and relatable. Being attentive today often just requires us to put down our cell phones. I was in the airport on last Friday, and I witnessed two teenage girls sitting across from each other, having a conversation with each other via text message. I didn't understand that. Now, how can they really listen to one another without looking and engaging each other? A change in one's habits and needs should happen when we decide to be in close relationship with God, as the things we used to do, we no longer want to do. And the people we once hung around with, we don't want to hang around with them any longer. Much in the same way, an addict does not want to hang around the people that he or she once did drugs with after getting clean. John the Baptist had become an astute reader of the scriptures, as he was able to glean from the Isaiah reading its relevance for his time. God allowed John a deeper understanding of God, such that John was able to predict the coming of Jesus as the Son of God before anyone else. Receiving good news from God is overwhelming most of the time. Receiving good news from God is overwhelming most times. It's too much for us. Think about how overwhelmed with joy Elizabeth, John the Baptist's mother, must have been after finding out that she was going to have a child. How Mary must have felt after the angel Gabriel visited her and told her that she was going to give birth to the Son of God. Think about how it feels when we've got the news of a new job, a new car, a new marital engagement, whether it's your first marriage or your fifth marriage. Or when our college-age sons and daughters get a job and they're moving out of the house and off of our payroll. A new body weight or the defeat of the cancer. The joy that comes with good news has a way of taking us out of our comfort zones, putting pep in our step, a smile on our faces, a new perspective on life, thus turning us into zealots. Zealots, the type of people that just have to share the good news. That is who we are. That is who we are as witnesses to Christ crucified. We are the bearers now of the good news. Bearers of the good news. The final thought that I would have us consider this week is good news can have an humbling effect upon us. Good news can have an humbling effect upon us. John the Baptist proclaims, "The one who is more powerful than I is coming after me. I am not worthy to stoop down and untie the thong of his sandals." How humbling is that? How humbling is that? We have been gifted with this good news. We too have been gifted with this good news. As it does not involve us moving up or us earning more or us being given a new title. No, it means that we are to rejoice in the success of someone else, sharing the good news of how God has blessed someone else through us, how we are able not only to be joyful for our blessings, but more importantly, how God uses us and to bless us, bless someone else through us, as it's not always about us. Jesus said this of John the Baptist, "Truly I tell you, among those born of women, there has not risen anyone greater than John the Baptist." Now John, shortly after he baptized Jesus in the river Jordan, was imprisoned and beheaded. It is not an easy task for us to step aside. It is not an easy task for us to step aside when someone else gets the glory, as many of John's disciples would go on to follow Jesus. John humbly realized that he was the forerunner, the messenger sent ahead of Jesus, the one sent to tell others about the coming of Jesus the Christ. This season of Advent is the season of the church's year, where we all get to stand in solidarity with John the Baptist and tell somebody about Jesus' second coming. We get to tell a world that is crying out for the good news, what being in relationship with Christ has meant to us. We get to bless others through our story. You may be saying, "Reggie, well, I'm shy. I don't have a story to tell." Well, I would disagree. I would disagree with you in that we all have a story to tell. John the Baptist went out into the wilderness to tell his story. I'm asking us to tell our story. Tell it at the lunch table in elementary, middle school, and high school. At the water cooler at work. At the gym, standing in line at Target, the post office, and Kroger's. Tell how when you were in need, how someone helped or prayed for you. Tell our children that nothing in this life comes easy. But if you follow the golden rule by doing unto others as you would have them do unto you, eventually everything will be all right. Tell the neighbors and invite them to church with us. Tell our story in the hospitals where the sick just want to see you and know that someone is thinking about them. Share the good news of our story with those incarcerated. Tell them that we too have made mistakes in this life. That Moses was a murderer. Abraham was a liar. Jacob conspired with his mother to steal Esau's birthright. David had Bathsheba's husband killed. Tell somebody that nobody is perfect. We serve a God of second chances. Tell the good news of our story to those who have just arrived here in the United States, because our ancestors too were once new to this land. Tell the good news of our story to those who have lost loved ones, that God knows that they have an irreplaceable hole in their heart. The text tells us that the people from the entire Judean countryside and Jerusalem came out to hear John the Baptist tell the story of the coming Messiah. But St. Aidans, who's going to share the good news today? We are the John the Baptist of our time. It's you and it's me, because we've been baptized into Christ's death and resurrection. And as such, we are the bearers of the good news.